I'm a YouTuber now, but I'm also a founder, and I wear different outfits at different times. I'm also a mom. So we're always kind of playing dress up. Life is about trying things on and then just being confident in what you're wearing.
Welcome to the Let Me Save You 25 Years podcast. I'm your host, Sean David Nelson, that love sack guy. Okay. What's your latest, greatest idea? Right? Best way to make it real, just try it on. So, as an example, Lovesack, my company, is right now undergoing kind of a major brand pivot. I mean, it won't look major from the outside, no Cracker Barrel moment, no new logo, whatever, but a lot of repositioning of our brand, new headline, new slogans, new ways of positioning ourselves against the competition. All these things are happening. And one of the more material changes is, if you're paying attention and listening to me a lot, we have this philosophy at Lovesack called Designed for Life. Things built to last a lifetime, but designed to evolve as life changes. We're super proud of it. The result is truly sustainable products that can last forever because you can update them, rearrange them, grow them, all these things, right? This has been our philosophy for more than a decade. It's actually was a lockup to our logo, Lovesack Designed for Life Furniture Co. And we're actually about to consider changing it, not changing the philosophy, it's still the same, but changing the name of it to this forever philosophy. We make things forever, not forever, not one word, but two words, because ever goes both ways, right? It's future compatible, reverse compatible. Okay, enough about Lovesack. The point is, when you have an idea, you have a new product, you have a new major brand change, whatever it may be, try it on. Use it in a sentence. Use it in a podcast. See if people hate it. Put it on the wall. Put it on the product. Put it out in front of people. Use it in your speeches. Tell your family about it. See how they react. Try it on. It doesn't cost anything just to try things on. Try it on at work every day. Try it on in your conversations with people. I have found this idea of, hey, I'm just trying this on, because it's not just about, let's say, the words forever. I then have to kind of speak to it, explain why we're doing it. And it's amazing the kind of feedback you can naturally get. And you can very quickly start to, and look, no matter what, people are going to be uncomfortable because human beings hate change. But I have found it to be the most effective tactic to just try things on. And then people will be like, well, I didn't know that we were changing the name of that. But I just speak to it as if we were. And I'm not talking about Designed for Life and forever. I'm talking about other products, other things that I do. I'll just try things on. I'll start calling my kids by a different name, and they'll be like, what? No, I'm just kidding. But you get the point. Try things on. And it can be a wildly effective way to get feedback, get a read, be a little leery. Again, people hate change. So no matter what, they're going to not always just love it. Sometimes they will. And by the way, then you have something. Today, I speak to, oh my gosh, one of the most YouTube famous people on earth. Not even joking. We get into how she tries things on, how she elicits feedback from those who are closest to her, talking about how mental flexibility is about wearing different outfits or roles at different times, how just putting on an outfit can make you that thing, or at least allow you to step into that role mentally so that you can actually be that thing in real life. How failure can ironically create confidence as you eliminate different outcomes and as you build a thicker skin that can take criticism, feedback, and failure and stand up and do it again. And when it comes to business, we talk about how we shouldn't attach our self-worth to the things that we create, to the feedback people give about those things. And in her case, it's very personal because, as we talk about on the pod, she is the product. finally, we're always playing dress up, and how she finds this very useful and real strategy that has driven her radical success. We get into it with Rebecca Zamolo, who has over 7 billion views on YouTube and is a superstar. She's brilliant, not just as a creator, but as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as a mom. You're really going to like this one. Today's guest is someone who has mastered the art of resiliency online, offline, and everywhere in between. She's a digital creator with billions of views, a wellness advocate who's unafraid to share the real stuff, and an entrepreneur who's built an entire storytelling universe from scratch. This woman is someone who tries things on, literally and figuratively. She experiments, she pivots, she laughs at the chaos. She treats ideas the same way you treat clothes in a dressing room. Pick them up, try them out, walk around in them and ask, does it feel right? Is it really me? And that's exactly what we're diving in on today. The superpower of mental flexibility, why trying things on is one of the most underrated skills in creativity, strategy, and life, and how being honest with yourself about what fits can change everything. Please welcome the Molo mom herself, Rebecca Zamolo.
Hi, Shawn. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to chat.
Heck yeah. So honored to have you. So when you first heard this idea, try things on, what was the first thing that came to mind for you?
You know what came to mind was my daughter, and she's 3.5, and she loves to be a princess every single day, no matter what. And, you're like, okay, she's 3.5. But as soon as she puts on the dress and if she does her hair and wears the crown, she literally turns into that princess. And like her mannerism change, everything she does changes. And the only thing that really happened is she put on a princess dress. And I think, I see that and I think of us every day where we maybe feel like, we have imposter syndrome and, we're just trying to, fit in or figure out who we are. And so I really think that, step one on is trying it on. It's like sometimes you have to wear it before you believe you belong to it. So, if you're going to a prom, you put on the dress, maybe you haven't been asked yet, but you want to wear that dress. And I think that's really important is sometimes putting it on before you believe it. And by seeing yourself in it, you can visualize yourself as that person a lot easier.
Yeah, that's powerful. The thing I love about what you said is, I mean, look, it comes back to I'll call it kind of cheesy idea of manifestation that gets thrown around a lot. And whether you want to call it manifesting or whether you want to call it neurolinguistic programming or,
Yeah.
or just visualization and the power of visualization, it's an absolutely real force in the universe, in the world, in our lives. And, I came at it. So the earliest work I'm familiar with on the topic is Psycho-Cybernetics. It's like one of my favorite books I talk about all the time. And it just very simply, is where this idea of visualize the outcomes you want in tremendous detail, not just like, oh, I can imagine myself winning the thing, but like hearing the snap of the ball as it goes through the net, seeing the arc it took on its way to the net. It led to all of these different self-help, neurolinguistic programming sort of offshoots that is a deeply trafficked subject, both in sports, performance, business. You were headed toward being an Olympic gymnast, right? You're a very serious athlete. How has visualization and this type of thing affected your life, both as an athlete and perhaps as a professional?
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I definitely used it for sports and gymnastics. we were lucky to have guided visualizations, visualizing what the skills were that you wanted, how to do it. Oftentimes in big competitions, there's a lot of people, high stakes, a lot of nerves, and training yourself to be comfortable there. I did a lot of visualization as well with that, just like with a crowd. So I wasn't nervous. I mean, because in gymnastics, nerves really isn't a good thing when you're performing. It causes you to fall, it causes you to hold back. And so we were constantly training, whether it was like people yelling during a beam routine, they'll scream at you to try while you're
Really?
doing it. Yeah, that was our training before, so that when you went to a competition, you felt very ready and very confident. Like, I have done this before. I've seen myself do this a million times. And what's funny is when I gave up my scholarship for gymnastics and ended up running track and field and becoming a professional cheerleader, big jumps,
Yeah.
very different. But um and I was running for a junior college because I had just started running, and I really wanted to go to state. And I had visualized it so much, and I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew, like, I wanted to go to San Diego. That's where this like state was. Like, I was going to do it. And I think lap 2 of this 3,000 steeplechase, I fell. Someone, it gets a little rough, and I fell very hard. And I finished, and the top 3 go to state, and I was third. I found out later that I had run a mile and a half on a broken foot.
Oh
But
my
I,
God.
I, I highly credit that to the fact that I had rehearsed it so many times in my head. I didn't even think to stop. Like, it wasn't even an option. I had to go to state, even if I had fallen. And I think that when your body, when you train it, it becomes like, and you're in this like mode, like where I could have made a choice to stop, or I could have, said it was over. I went into what I had trained my mind for so long. I went into that place. And I thank visualization for that, because, I might not have made it.
That's amazing. What an amazing story. And, perhaps it's, I often think when I know something's going to be challenging, I have to decide beforehand. And I think it's the same thing, right? You had in your mind created this outcome before it ever existed. And your, your mind and body just went to work making it true. In fact, it's one of the most poignant, I guess, anecdotes from that book that I love is the idea that the human brain is a goal achieving machine. But of course, we have to give it the right inputs to kind of set it to work. And so visualization is a huge part of that. Goal setting in general, um, you know, imagining, visualizing, creating the outcome that you want it to happen. And what's crazy is both while you're awake and while you're asleep, your
Yeah.
mind will go to work and your subconscious will go to work solving that problem and driving to those ends. And perhaps in that moment after you had fallen down, broken your foot, apparently your mind was just so conditioned to achieving that end that it made it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, we'll figure out the foot later. Just qualify.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So look, you have lived so many young person's dream to have blown up on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, become a social media influencer. It's like the number one when I was little is like, do you want to be a fireman, police officer, president of the United States? I don't know. Now it's influencer, half
Yeah.
these kids raise their hands. That's what they want to be. How
Yeah.
has this idea of trying things on uh, played a role in what you've achieved? I mean, you have over 7 billion views, I think, on YouTube already or something like that. It's insane.
Probably. Yeah. We just hit 20 million subscribers. So that was a big benchmark goal that I had, and I was really excited. That happened a couple weeks ago.
Amazing. It's
Thank you.
amazing.
Um, gosh, where do we start with creating? It's all about trying things on. And for me, I loved creating. And when I decided to do YouTube full time, I had my colon removed and I was wearing an ostomy bag. And so I was like, well, I can film at home like this. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a YouTuber. And it was just like, once I was like, that's what I have, that's how it's going to be. I just became a YouTuber. Like the second you say it, you are it. So it was like, was I making money? No. Did I have to produce for other people and like beg them to be in my videos as a trade so I could grow my channel? Yes. But when anyone asked me what I was, I said a YouTuber. And I said that before I had 10,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And I think, the biggest thing on trying things on is like, yes, you want to, you know, uh, make sure you like it. But also, I think that the landscape always changes in whatever you do. And so I don't think you have to, define yourself with one outfit or think that like you're locked into this forever. I'm a YouTuber now, but I'm also a founder and I wear different outfits at different times. I'm also a mom. I'm trying that outfit on. I don't think anyone's ever been a mom before they're a mom. So we're always kind of playing dress up. Like we're just it's not like any of us have been something before that we really know. So it's like life is about trying things on and then just being confident in what you're wearing. I don't think that anyone can ever truly feel confident, like truly confident if they've never done anything. But I think not
Mhm.
being afraid to fail and knowing that you know, the identity or the outfit you're wearing doesn't define who you are is a big thing. I've never attached my self worth to what I create. I think that's very important. A lot of younger kids, it must get very tricky. I didn't have social media like they do. And so, like, the likes and everything like that matters to them and that makes them feel good. But I learned very on that the second you accept the comments that tell you how great you are, you also have to accept the ones when they say bad things about you. And, on social media, there's ebbs and flows. Sometimes people love you, sometimes people don't. And it gets very tough. And the second you put your identity into any outfit that you are wearing, and it just becomes like a slippery slope.
That's powerful.
So
That's powerful. Wow. So much that we have to dig into there. I think of YouTubers, influencers, fill in the blank, as entrepreneurs. And so, how do you separate, as you said, being a founder from being a YouTuber?
Oh, I think it's so different when you're a creator and as YouTube has become a business, it's changed, but as a creator, you're essentially doing exactly what you should never do when you build a company, right? You're starting with a key one person and you're building everything around that person, which is like what they tell you in business is a terrible idea because there's key man risk. You can't grow it. But as a creator, that's that's kind of the way it's like you can't build anything if there's no one to build it around and so you're creating this thing and you do it all yourself because that's the great thing about YouTube is you can literally just have your phone and film. So you build everything, you learn it all, and then everyone's like, in order to grow, you need to step away. And now all of a sudden, what made you special or what built it in order to level up even more, you have to play a completely different game. And a lot of creators, we've never played that game, right? We've always been in control. We've always made the decisions, and that got us to where we were. So I think it's extremely difficult or different, I should say, to have a founder's mentality versus a creator's mentality.
That's brilliant. So now, how do you contrast that with some of the lessons you've learned uh,
Yeah.
toward having that founder's mentality?
Yeah, I mean, well, I've learned right away, um, to not put myself to really be the face, build the company as without just me, that the product is so good that if I am not there, it doesn't matter. I think that's very important. Whereas as a creator, I am the product. So
Mhm.
I'm not the product. I think, you know, one of the things that's great about being a creator is about influence, and you get to, impact a lot of people's lives. However, there is a part of me that struggles with the um, self-centeredness of that. And I think with a product and as a founder, it's, I do create content for my audience and I care, but as a founder, the customer has to be at the heart of everything. And so I'm constantly just trying to figure out who is our customer and what do they really need. As a creator, we're given these guidelines of an algorithm, and so it's like we can do a certain amount of helping, but then also we're playing within, this rule book. And as a founder, there are no rules. It's just finding a product that a customer loves and trying to fix problems, you know.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's interesting because I love how you articulated the difference between a creator and a founder, um, and the way you're thinking about it in terms of product. At the same time, the reason that I said I whenever I get the chance to interview entrepreneur influencers and creators, I feel like they're entrepreneurs because you have had to build. You've had to build something from scratch. You've had to manage a career. You've had to manage now, millions, one way or another, millions of views, millions of people, millions of dollars. And and I love how you put it for us that you're the product, right? That's an interesting point of view. I think a really lucid point of view. Um, and tell us about Molo. Tell us about how it's going. Tell us about what you're building for those that are listening as you think of
Yeah.
being a founder.
Well, I should ask you a lot of questions, Sean, because you're your goals right now. But as far as my product is a fertility powder. It's all of the supplements that your body needs all in one. You can take it one glass, put it in water, drink it one a day, and it's also stackable. So based off your journey, where you are, whether you're doing IVF, whether you are pregnant, whether you're trying to get pregnant, or even you're just wanting to prepare your body for when you do want to get pregnant, you can mix and match and drink them all in one. It came from a problem. It's still a problem. Women are struggling with infertility,
Yeah.
and education is not there. Women don't know what we're supposed to be taking. We think a prenatal, but we haven't really been told a lot of information as to what our body needs and why. And as soon as I started taking all of the pills that I took, which were 12 to 14 a day, but they were these key supplements that my body needed, was the time I finally got pregnant and stayed pregnant. And so this product is what I wish I had. Also with powder, it absorbs better into your body. And as a woman, I think if you're taking all of that, you should absorb as much as you can. If you're going to do the work, like, you should reap the benefits. And so that's how Molo was created. So it's a play on my last name's Molo, and then it's mother's love. And that just came from, as a mom, or trying to be, I was willing to do anything. And I think that this supplement will hopefully help women feel empowered and feel like they can take back a little bit of control of their fertility.
That's
So,
amazing. And I love, you know, every story like this because it's just further proof uh, Shawnism from an earlier episode. There's a million ways to make $1,000,000,
Yeah.
and not that this is necessarily even about. It sounds like making $1,000,000 for you. Like I feel like this is certainly a mission driven, purpose driven venture for you, and but for sure the opportunity's there. The problem needs to be solved, and isn't that neat that like I think all of our lives. I'm speaking to anyone listening, right? All of our lives will unfold in a way to reveal problems that perhaps you alone, and maybe not you alone, but you will be given the opportunity to solve if you choose to make it you. And you've chosen this one, and it chose you, right? Like this was not something you wished upon yourself, but it's made you passionate about this issue and given you the strength to try and go solve it.
Yeah, I think that there's a reason that I struggled. I think there's a reason that I have a platform, and I think, this product hadn't been done. So it's like a white space in the market. Why have we not made this easier for women? And why have we not educated them and made them, go through so many rounds of IVF, not really knowing what to do. And it seemed like a no-brainer, but it also seemed like if I didn't do it, who would?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't my exact audience. It was kind of like if I'm driving a car, this is the lane. It's kind of a little over. It's not my exact audience, but I really thought um, that didn't really matter to me because I believe so much in the product.
Yeah. And that's why you're going to have success, besides all of the other reasons. And I'm sure you're applying everything you've learned from building the it's what do I call it? The career, from building the career that you've built on YouTube, and everything you learned as an athlete, visualization, everything we've talked about, pouring it into this entrepreneurial opportunity. And that's the beautiful thing about our lives. And it's, again, a great example that just when you think every niche is taken, every problem's been solved, we live in a world where Amazon just seems to have everything.
Yeah.
Uh, Life will unfold and identify an opportunity for you. And that's a beautiful testimony.
And with visualization, how did that impact you with Lovesack?
Oh, it was funny as you were telling your story, I was reflecting on a moment where I I was so a Love Sack was like my side hustle in college. I made a big bean bag just to kind of be funny. People liked it. My neighbor wanted one, so I started the company so I could sell him one. Needed a name. Anyway, I don't know. A couple years in, I'm only making a few dozen of these a year, delivering them to friends and family and friends of friends who want one. We had to stuff them by hand in the back room of this old furniture factory that lent us this little foam shredder that they had. Cause Lovesack's not full of bean bags. It's full of shredded foam.
Yeah.
Makes it like anyway, we had taken the product to a big trade show to try and get, big orders. And we came back empty handed. Now I'm like 15, 20 grand in credit card debt. I'm a waiter. That's how I'm paying my way through school. Lovesack never made any money. But my phone rang a couple of weeks later as I'm stuffing a Lovesack. And it's an out of state number, so I turn off the foam shredder and I brush the foam out of my hair and I say, Lovesack Corporation. And as I answer the phone, and it's the biggest retailer in the United States at the time. And they want 12,000 little Lovesacks. And my response just instinctively was no problem. We're the best not beanbag company in the world. Like it'll be fantastic. I need you to send me these colors that you want, and acting like a professional. But to your point, putting on those clothes, like trying it on,
Yeah.
just trying on the clothes of the best not beanbag company in the world, which wasn't exactly a lie.
Yeah.
We might have been the only one, but it was me and a buddy and a wood chipper shredder thing. And they didn't know that on the other end of the phone. And so I was able to just try on that line, try on those clothes, as it were, and behave that way. And then I behaved that way when I went to North Carolina to find the fabric that they wanted, and behaved that way when the fabric was too expensive and I had to fly to China to find the fabric from the source. And as much as I presented myself that way, trying on those clothes, that's how people saw me.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's, we all, I love what you said early on. You decided I'm a YouTuber. You said it out loud. And from that moment on, you were a YouTuber.
And I mean, people do that all the time. I'm a mom.
Yeah. That's a great example. And in fact, my wife and I were just reflecting last night how, because look, we're parents of teenagers. All of a sudden we have 17, 15, 13, 11. It's like a whole new game.
That's crazy.
And what you think is hard, because I'm sure you're exhausted as the mom of a young,
Yeah. Yeah.
young person.
3.5-year-old and a little over 2-month-old.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. But yeah, no,
Exhausting.
the teen years scare me. I'm terrified.
Well, it's just a whole different game because nothing works the same, right? These are now maybe not adults, but certainly wanting to behave like adults, make their own decisions. It's no longer about just, I don't know, scoldings or punishments to keep them in line, or who knows what. It's about influence. It's about convincing perhaps a stubborn individual to think differently about their choice. And it's mentally exhausting and emotionally exhausting, because you really hope that you can keep these kids moving in the right direction. But when did I become a dad in the first place? And not just on the calendar, but did I miss the lesson? Did I miss the course? It's the most important thing you're ever going to do.
Yeah. And you're
but
just
yet you don't
throwing
need a
it.
license. You don't need.
No, you just tried on the clothes and you got stuck in them,
Yeah. Yeah. And the
I don't
dad
know.
bod came with it. What do I do about that? But
It's interesting too when you like try on clothes. It's funny because like just because you're wearing the dad outfit, there's also many different versions of the dad where you were the protector when they were young. It's like you're transitioning and you're in this transition phase. And then you'll hopefully get to transition to the friend phase, which is going to be awesome. But there's this like in between right now, you're wearing an outfit. The old one doesn't really fit. And the new one they're not ready for. So I can understand why that's like such an interesting time right now, because you're wanting to protect, but they don't want it. But you can't be their friend because then you wouldn't be a good parent at this stage in their life. So you're like, it must be very, very confusing.
Oh, that's a brilliant synopsis. I appreciate you breaking it down like that. I think you're right. And it occurs to me like I need to do a better job visualizing for my kids. I pray for them. I pray about them. I obviously communicate a lot with them. But I hadn't thought about it in that way. I need to visualize the outcomes that I would hope for them, And I think that can be effective. And by the way, teach them to. I've tried very hard to get my daughter to read my favorite book, Psycho-Cybernetics. She hasn't read it yet. She it's one of those things. It's like, I don't think she's read my book, like you're never a prophet in your own land.
And no, trust me, I know. My daughter won't let me teach gymnastics to her. I'm like, I can teach. I taught for many years.
Isn't that funny?
Was the highest level gymnast, but she doesn't want to hear me give her tips or anything.
Yeah, and that's grounding, and by the way, it's good. Like, I was giving someone advice yesterday about staying grounded, and I think it's all about family, your own family, the family you came from. I think sometimes people get super successful, and it's easy to alienate yourself from your family because I don't know, you're busy, and by the way, they live in a different state maybe, and by the way, we don't have that much in common anymore. They're doing this, I'm doing that. It's your family that will keep you grounded more than anything.
Yeah.
Because to your daughter, and both your nuclear family, staying close there, and also the family you came from, because to them, you're just their brother and you've always been an idiot. And to your daughter, you're just mom. And that's
Yeah.
beautiful. But
Yeah.
there's no getting around it.
Yeah. I agree 1,000%. We keeping family around will always just keep you grounded because yeah, they'll call you out. And I'm so happy because I think that's very important is keeping people around you that aren't afraid to disagree with you.
Mm.
I think as you get bigger or you have success, you can get people around that will always think your idea is best, that aren't going to
Mhm.
challenge you, that are kind of just going to do what you say because you're paying their, you're paying for them to live or you're paying their, for their job. And I really value when people speak up to me. And I think that's very important. I actually get nervous around yes man or yes women because there's like we're going to make a huge mistake and I'm just going to be running full speed ahead and no one's going to stop me. And so I'm constantly just like making sure that everyone around me is not always in agreement with me and also that they're not afraid to tell me that. um
Yeah.
I think
That's
that's
great.
really
I think it's great
important.
advice for anyone listening. The most successful people will not just allow people to disagree with them, but really seek it out. And if you're lucky enough to find people in your orbit that will, exercising the discipline, because by the way, sometimes it is uncomfortable. Sometimes it is annoying. And I have to remind myself sometimes with certain people, even though I would I don't know, it'd be easier without them here or something.
Yeah.
I will keep them here for their contrarian nature with me so that I can, to your point, be sharper and be better, even though it might be easier without them.
Yeah. I have a few of those. One being my husband. Sometimes he likes to go against every idea I have, but it's good because if you're going to do something, you should be 100% confident about it. And I think that you should, having someone question you makes you have to rethink why you're doing it in the first place, which gives
Yeah.
you a stronger argument. And it also helps to fill in gaps that maybe you didn't think about before, any blind spots you missed. So I think it's good. It's obviously annoying, but the outcome is always better.
How do you make those judgment calls between where to give on your idea uh, and give, when you receive pushback, feedback, argument, or push through and see it through? Or how do you think about that?
I usually try to, I mean, if it's creative, I just like to walk through like, okay, let's see both sides. Like if we did do this, what would happen? What's the worst case? What's the best case? I just try to weigh out both situations. Like if someone tells me one thing, I'm thinking of that one thing, where that'll be a year from now or 6 months from now. So I'm like, okay, this would be the path that they're saying. This is the path I'm saying. Which path do we want to be on more? Which has a bigger outcome? Which makes more sense? And I just do my best to if I feel very strongly about an idea, um, then I overrule it. And luckily, life is about making mistakes, and I'm not afraid to make them. So I think that you can always correct mistakes. But I do think as a leader, it's important to be very confident in this decision you make. So after we talk, after all of that, once the decision is made, that is what we're doing. And
Yeah.
and we just have to all be on board with that.
So, by the way, if I could rewind the last 30 seconds of your um, words, I mean, you are a leader in the most classic sense and convincing those around you to behave that way as well, right? Like, hey, we've disagreed, we've argued this out, we've made a decision together, and building a culture where they will align and not then undermine you, second guess. These are the hallmarks of a great leader in business. This is why
Yeah.
you're going to be
No,
a great leader in
no.
business. And this is why I always say, like, people like you that have built these amazing followings and outcomes on social media, you are entrepreneurs. You are founders. It may be that the product is you, and it may be different than the product now you're building with Molo, which is a different endeavor. But you are absolutely clearly a capable leader, a capable entrepreneur, and it's really neat to hear you articulate these things through the context of what you're doing, because what you're doing is absolutely where it's a state of the art of our culture right now. It's a state of the art of media. You know, your one of your episodes gets viewed more than, you know, a primetime show on ABC or CBS now.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy to think about. But I do think, whether you're a founder, whether you're a creator, you're always trying to think of who's watching and what do they need, right? We're solving a problem. And the people that can constantly be thinking about that and worried about that and care about that. If it's my YouTube channel, I care, like, how are we uplifting and preparing the next generation to be confident, you know, to think outside the box. Like, am I doing my job? What do they need to see? What story do they need to be told? How can I tell something that they might not want to hear from their parents? But how can I do it in a way that speaks to that demographic or that family? And, now with another product, you're with Lovesack. How do we communicate that we can, that where you sit, where you hang out, it should feel comfortable, effortless, like the place everyone wants to go, the hangout zone. Like, how do that's a problem, right? We want families to be together more. How do we do that? How can we have messes and still make it look good and keep it, cute and classy, but functional? And I think that you guys have solved a problem with Lovesack. I think we're all just solving problems in different areas.
Absolutely. Well, look, in the spirit of let me save you 25 years, you've already shared buckets of wisdom. I feel like just naturally pouring out of you are some of the greatest little epithets on leadership and creativity that I've heard on here. What bit of advice might you have to someone listening that might save them a chunk off their own 25-year journey toward, who knows, being a founder or a creator or a successful human being or mom? What might you what might you offer?
I think it sounds weird, from someone who is a creator and does a lot of things based off numbers, but I would say that right now the most important thing will be building community. Whether you're building a product, whether you're a creator, building a community for people, because especially with AI, we don't have much. They're going to be able to do it better than us. They're going to create better than us. They're going to do a lot of things better than us. But one thing that they can't do, and maybe they can in a virtual way, is community. They're not going to be able to meet people in person. They're not going to be able to hold events. They're not going to really be able to convert the same way we do as humans with a human connection. And so I think when we go into this next era of AI, focusing on community versus numbers is going to be much more powerful. So
That was worth the podcast. I'm now thinking about Lovesack. I'm thinking about my own strategy and how to build community.
you need like
Thank
a Love
you.
Sack booth at Coachella where everyone
Look,
can just
look,
go and chill.
you're part of the Lovesack fam. We gotta do more. We gotta talk. We'll talk after. But look, for everyone listening, if you're not following Rebecca, where have you been? She's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Rebecca Zamolo, Zamolo. You can check
Yes.
out her latest news and merchandise on her website, RebeccaZamolo.com, and check out Molo.
Just launched. It just launched on Amazon.
If you're a mom, an aspiring mom, Molo
Yes.
is where it's at. To the motivational mom the sincere storyteller, the trailblazer of transparency herself, Rebecca Zamolo. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much.
And remember, for everyone out there, great leaders stay flexible. We want argument, feedback. So keep trying on ideas, keep testing the fit, and keep choosing what helps you grow. It just might save you a chunk off your own 25-year journey.
Once a year to take my friends away. It should not be the budget for your bike across America.
TikTok has become an aggregator for some of the dumbest human actions.
When I won that million, I was $2 million in debt, barely hanging on.